All right, let's talk about self-defense, but probably not in the way you're used to thinking about it. Today, we're diving into a powerful philosophy that completely reframes personal safety, called self-defense: Why Fighting Back is a Strategic Failure. And right up front, we want to let you know that this explainer is sponsored by the Other Way Marshall Consulting. So let's just jump right in with a foundational idea. You know the scene in the movies, right? The hero gets cornered, and then there's this amazing, long, choreographed fight scene. Well, reality isn't like that. The source material we're pulling from puts it perfectly. In reality, true self-defense is chaotic, ugly, and brief. It's not a performance. It's what happens when every other safety plan has completely failed. And look, this isn't just about splitting hairs. Buying into that cinematic idea of a heroic fight is a huge liability. It actually sets you up for failure because it creates an expectation that you should engage, that you should dominate, that you should win. And that mindset is exactly what can get you seriously hurt, sued, or far worse. The goal isn't winning, it's just getting your safety back. So who is this approach for? Well, it's really designed for a specific kind of person, what we'd call a reluctant pragmatist. This is someone who trains not because they love fighting, but because they value their own autonomy. For the reluctant pragmatist, the absolute best victory is the one where a conflict was avoided altogether. Okay, so that brings us to the first core distinction we have to make, and it underpins everything else we're going to talk about: the fundamental difference between a fight and an act of self-defense. They are not the same thing. And when you lay it out like this, the difference becomes crystal clear. A fight, well, that involves two consenting people. It's two egos clashing, both trying to dominate the other. And the result? Just more danger for everyone. But self-defense, that's totally different. You have one aggressor, and the other person's only goal is to exit, to get away. The result you're looking for is simply restored safety. See how those goals are completely at odds with each other? So, if the goal is to exit, how do you actually do that? This leads us to our second section, the mechanics of exit. We're going to look at how these principles make a safe exit a real physical possibility. The key concept here is something called strategic insulation. Now, this isn't about overpowering anybody. It's just about restoring the physical boundary that an aggressor crossed. Think of it like you're just reestablishing your personal space just long enough to create a way out. The goal is simply to create space, not to control the other person. And you achieve this through something called mechanical advantage. You know, a great way to think about this is like a simple wedge splitting a log. The wedge doesn't fight the wood. It just uses physics and geometry to make the wood's own structure irrelevant. It's the same idea here. You use your skeletal structure, your bones, so the aggressor ends up fighting your entire unified body weight, not just the strength in your arm. We can really break this down into 4 steps. First, use your body's structure, not your muscles. Second, apply leverage to get them off balance. Third, make gravity your best friend. And finally, you use all of that to create your exit. The beautiful thing about this is that these principles work no matter how big you are, how old you are, or what kind of shape you're in. Now, the physical mechanics, that's one thing, and they're crucial. But honestly, they're often easier to learn than the mental discipline it takes to actually use them correctly. So let's talk about the psychology of leaving. You have to burn this into your brain. Victory is leaving. When someone attacks you, your ego, your adrenaline, that sense of justice, everything inside you will be screaming to fight back, to stay and punish them. But the second you give in to that, you've just agreed to be in a fight. You've given up your most important strategic advantage. And here's the hard truth. Just knowing this stuff intellectually, it's not enough. Theory is a complete luxury. When your heart is pounding and adrenaline is flooding your system, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to the level of your training. Your body will just do whatever it's done 1,000 times before. And that's why understanding has to become instinct. That's the entire purpose of dedicated training, like the mentorship program offered by The Other Way. It's specifically designed to close that gap, to turn these smart ideas into autonomic responses that actually work under pressure. So what does that look like? Well, the program is built to instill these instincts through 10 weeks of virtual training with direct guidance from a qualified instructor. And it all gets solidified with two-hour days of hands-on practice, so you can actually feel these principles in your body. By the way, if you are finding this strategic approach valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe, and maybe drop a comment. It really, truly does help the channel out. Okay, so I can almost hear the questions some of you might be asking. Why go through all this? Why can't I just learn how to fight and win? Well, for any pragmatic professional, the answer is all about the hidden real-world costs of winning. Because here's the thing, winning a street fight often means losing in every other important area of your life. You're suddenly facing legal consequences, you could be hit with civil lawsuits, you risk losing social and professional standing, and of course, there's always the chance of serious physical injury, even if you come out on top. And we can actually put a hard number on that risk. The average legal retainer just to begin a self-defense claim is over $10,000. For a pragmatic person, that financial risk alone makes winning a fight a totally unacceptable outcome. And what's really powerful about this whole approach is that its value goes way beyond the rare possibility of a physical attack. Let's widen the lens a bit and see how these principles apply just about everywhere in your life. What's so fascinating is that the pattern of a predator is basically universal. The colleague who's always undermining you in meetings, who's constantly probing your professional boundaries, they're using the exact same psychological playbook as a physical attacker. They're testing you, looking for a collapse in your boundaries. And this is why the training is so focused on building that autonomic response. It's about developing the ability to spot these pre-attack indicators, whether they're social or physical, and manage them with a cool, clinical detachment. You're not learning how to fight, you're learning a universal skill for managing conflict. So you see, when you strip it all away, this methodology isn't really about fighting at all. It's about mastering the very architecture of human conflict. It's about understanding how to manage pressure, de-escalate threats, and stay in control of your environment. And that environment could be a dark parking lot or a corporate boardroom. And all of this brings us to one final, central question, the one you really need to ask yourself. Is your personal safety strategy designed to help you win the fight? Or is it designed to make the fight, and the person trying to start it, completely irrelevant? We'd like to extend a big thank you from the Other Way Marshall Consulting for taking the time to watch.